Good morning and good afternoon. I guess depends on where you're picking up the viewing of this. Kent being with 9 Business Group and Elevate Your Business Chat. We have the pleasure of Adam Persch joining us today with xCur. Adam, welcome. Please introduce yourself, your company, and what makes you different than the competition, and why do people love buying from you?
Well, thank you for the invitation today. It's an opportunity for me to share a little bit about my passion, what I'm doing with my business, xCur Solutions. Maybe just a quick background. Been in the business 30 plus years. Have been on both sides of the desk, as it were, both selling goods and services as well as managing IT for a business. So I've kind of been around the block a few times, and the one thing I guess maybe that sets me apart out of that is just the experience. I've seen both sides, and what makes me different is I can be empathetic for the business owner, because I myself am a business owner and I've run businesses on behalf of shareholders and private equity. So it does allow me to have a unique perspective, not just a cog in the wheel, as it were. So why do they buy from me? Why do customers buy from me versus my competition? I think the biggest reason is I'm not pushing product. And I think often what we find in IT sales or IT solutions is people like to talk about the stack, the technology stack. And I think there's so much opportunity lost when we don't take the chance to talk about awareness. And that's really where my business focuses on, is cybersecurity awareness. So really focusing on people and process, and product comes at the end. So my 3 P's is often how I do my elevator pitch: people, process, and product. And I rarely talk about product until we get to that stage of the discussion. And so the key thing out of that is that I love to create something sustainable. It's not a one-hit wonder. As you know, security is one of those things that's alive and well, with a lot of ongoing concern that requires us just to have due diligence at all times. And so I like to create things, especially process, that just fits. It's not burdensome, it's not overbearing, and it's enough of what you need, because the business changes. And so over engineering anything doesn't give the business a chance to be agile. They could get acquired, they could be acquiring, they could add a new product that sort of changes things, and process needs to change with it, as well as the people's awareness of what they need to do to protect their company's assets.
Excellent, thank you. Since you've been in business, what has been the biggest challenge you've had to overcome? How did you tackle it? How did you solve it? And what was the outcome?
Yes, and there's always challenges in running a business. I would say for me, I think what's the biggest challenge has been getting the attention of the business owner, and creating awareness of a problem that they may not see or understand, and trying to get them to pay attention to it before it becomes a problem. Business owners, they have thousands of things coming at them, and they're constantly having to deal with things, and this is just one more thing. And you can do the fear mongering, and you explain the cost of a breach and what it does to their brand, all those things, but they get that from lots of different angles. So how do you find a way to get them to or get their attention long enough to create that awareness? And so, how do I tackle it? I tackle it from lots of different angles. I probably lean a little heavy on statistics, but not from the fear side, just from here are some things you need to be aware of. I like my background, educational background is I've got an MBA as well as an LLM. So I've just finished my master's of law. And so I talk a lot now about, especially the last couple of years, about legislation. We're going to talk about that a little bit later. But try to give them a holistic view of the things that are going to impact their business from lots of different angles. But the theme is cybersecurity. So that's how I tackle it, and solve it by just giving them that information, making them aware of it. The outcome of it has been mixed bag. It's been fascinating to me. When I was running through another business, tens of thousands of devices, hundreds and hundreds of organizations, they, even in a case like that, they're apathetic. And so, the outcome has been mixed bag. It seems to be when something has happened or a near miss, gets their attention. So trying to get ahead of that, trying to get them to understand you got to deal with this while there isn't a fire. It's a lot less expensive at that point.
So in other words, you're the first guy to quote unquote sell sprinkler systems in buildings. And you're trying to get the owners of the buildings to pay attention that it's cheaper to put the sprinklers in during construction versus retrofitting.
Absolutely. Or
All right.
firewall in the ceiling that they never see. Sprinklers, at least you can see, but firewall you never see in the ceilings. And they got to be there.
So you have to have a pretty creative marketing campaign to get in front of the right decision makers and the right information. All right, cool. We'll pick that up later. What is one thing you know now that you wish you would have known when you started in business?
That's a great question. In fact, I been thinking about that. There probably one thing that comes to mind over and over again. You've got to believe in what you're doing. People, passion is contagious, and if you can't be excited about what it is and the story you're trying to tell, you're not going to captivate people. They're going to see it as yet another point of sale. And I think one thing I've had to do, and this is my second business I've run, and it's one of the big lessons I learned from running my first one is while I believed in what I did, it wasn't passionate. I wasn't excited about it. And so having the opportunity to do this again, I said, what is it that I actually want to spend my days talking about? Like if I wasn't paid, if I wasn't paid and I was hanging out with people, what would I want to tell them? And cybersecurity was the piece. So I think you have to be passionate about what it is, what your message is, and why it matters to you, and personalize it. And there's lots of great stories I could share about that. So, and I do when the opportunity presents itself.
Thank you. No, it's good. I think that is key because passion is definitely contagious. And I think we're seeing it also with a lot of new business owners where they may have some passion for a product or service, but they're more passionate about a quality of life or their business designed to have an impact. So it's the business now is serving the world in a different way, and it's revenue and profit. But for that particular entrepreneur, it's about, no, we want to make some money, but we want to accomplish this. We want to give some back. And I think that's where, if we don't necessarily have a passion to be a plumber, electrician, but we connect a different passion with, we want to be a plumber, electrician, or a different type of business, but we want to be able to serve a different good. I think it does, because we all had times struggle with one, get out of bed and go to work. So that passion definitely helps that for sure. In your industry, this is going to be fun. I'm not sure there's going to be three, but what are the top three challenges that your industry faces in the next 18 to 24 months?
Well, they're very similar to the same challenges the last 12 to 18 months. I had an opportunity to be part of a federal initiative by the Canadian Commerce. It was a campaign called Cyber Right Now, and it laid the groundwork for the things that got me actually super excited about why this message just needs to get out. So there are three things. One is a call to action, what I call combating mediocrity from through apathy we see businesses have towards cybersecurity. So to me, it's how do you say to a business that's not good enough? A simple thing like a security incident report or a process. Do you have that? And the answer is often just no. They're talking about MFA or they're talking about technology, and it breaks my heart a little bit, because I think if you don't have a way to manage the crisis, how are you going to survive? Because it's your customer experience ideally doesn't tank during this process, and it's actually possible. It's as odd as it sounds to go through something like this, and yes, it's going to have some impact on your customer's business, but there's things you can do to mitigate that. So I'd say the big one is just a call to action to business, combating mediocrity. I'd say the second one is advocacy on behalf of business. The cyber industry, we need to be lobbying for small, medium-sized businesses. They command 98, 99% of business in Canada, and we need to find ways to help them And so, one of the ones that we talked about at Cyber right now is tax breaks for small business. If they had a means to access some money to deal with their cyber posture, it would make a big difference, because there's only so much money in a day, and we'll give businesses tax breaks for lots of other things, innovation, green initiatives. And yet the businesses are hemorrhaging to death over cybersecurity. And I just think it's one of the ones we definitely need to be doing. It's definitely a challenge we have. And then the last one is that our industry faces, and it's coming. I thought it was going to already be here, but it died in the last election call, but is legislation. So we had a bill that was working its way through the readings in 2020 called C11. It died when the federal government or Liberal Party announced their election, and I thought it was dead. I thought it was gone. It went away for a little while. It got rejigged, and a new bill has been tabled and went through a first reading through the summer called Bill C27. And the thing about this is, what's the big deal? It's another piece of legislation. This is what the government does. But what we are finding for the first time in our industry, in Canada specifically, Europe already has this, is penalties for non-compliance. And what people have to understand, it's crazy. We're talking fangs here. Like there's big chops here. Organizations guilty will be guilty of an indictable offense. They're liable for, this is crazy, liable for a fine up to 5% of their global revenues.
Wow.
Or $25 million, whichever is greater. And that's that's a big penalty. Additionally, there's other administrative monetary penalties that can occur for lots of other reasons. That have different fines to them, $10 million for selected violations. So we're talking some legislation that's coming in with some teeth. Businesses are not responding. They have no awareness. They have no idea. And we've largely left this to legal firms in their briefings. And most businesses, they do all they can to avoid lawyers. A call out to all my lawyer friends out there. I'm there for you. But businesses don't want to talk to lawyers. So how is this information coming out? Well, it isn't, unfortunately, until a situation occurs. And in Alberta in particular, we have mandatory breach notifications. So they'll do something, find out they've done something they shouldn't have, and things go sideways really quickly. So I think that third one is going to be becoming more prominent over the next couple of years, in particular, as the legislative changes and the cost to business for non-compliance.
So what types of things would a business need to be compliant in? Can you give a specific of what a business would be? And if this law gets passed, what would be a fault? What's the equivalent of the speeding ticket? And can you give us just an example of a wrongdoing that would cause the fine?
Yeah, so it would be things where maybe you were collecting information, consumer information, or even employee information. It's not just consumer, but employee as well. And you didn't have proper safeguards in place. So you get breached because you didn't change the default password.
Okay.
It's things you hear, Uber or others. There's state level actors that are like in a case like that. I don't think you're going to run into these problems. I'm not a lawyer, so I can't speak to that from a legal perspective. It's not state level incidents that businesses have to worry about in the sense of being held responsible. It's their own due diligence. Are they doing backups? Are they applying patches? I mean, these are what I call table stakes. These are very simple things they should be doing. We have a great program. I'm going to do a quick plug for federal government put a new program a couple of years ago called the Cybersecure Canada program. 13 simple controls. You do these simple 13 things, your posture is going to be a lot better than many other businesses. There's big ones like NIST and SOC 2. They're hundreds. They're measured in hundreds of controls. This is 13. So I think we really do have a simple way of addressing these very common issues that would mitigate these kind of incidents from occurring and protect and safeguard businesses, both their assets, but also against legal recourse. So again, I'm not a lawyer, but I do think there's lots of simple things we can do to protect our businesses.
So really, without even getting into a data breach, it's as simple as protecting private information. whether it be
It
credit
is.
cards, personal information, names, addresses, social insurance numbers, etc. Okay, that makes a lot of sense. Thank you for the clarification. What is your definition of a successful business?
Hmm. Boy, honestly, I went around this so many times. I think about this a lot. And so I think because we understand businesses as an entity to itself, and it's an organism in many ways, a life to its own. Certainly as an incorporation, it is. A successful business means that it grows and it sustains prosperity to those who it serves and to its stewards. And so I like to look at it holistically. I'm not it's not just shareholder wealth or just stakeholder perspective. It's both. We have to serve those whom we have the opportunity, been given the privilege to provide services to, but we also need to take care of those who've taken the risk and grown the business, including our employees who are putting it out there. I mean, they're the reason that our business grows, and so we've got to take care of a business. So to me, it's really sustaining prosperity, and prosperity isn't always about dollars in pockets. I think you made the comment earlier, there's a standard of living and of care that can happen. People go through life, how you treat them, COVID, how you handle your employees, and give them the flexibility. There's lots of things around that, but I really do believe it's holistic. It's both internal and external.
Okay, cool. That's great. No, I like that definition a lot. I'm going to add it to the repertoire. It's been a lot of fun. We've asked that question a lot in the last month, and it is interesting how we get everything from, on a small scale, need to pay my rent and my mortgage payment, need to pay my staff. And then you get the people going, no, we want to expand around the world. We want to be able to give X% of our profit back. So it is really nice to see the growth of it, because when you get a business in startup mode, it's really just a bit smaller, and how do I get my first 100 clients? And then you get a business who's 25, 50 million. It's like, no, there is that sustainability. I want to be able to have this business go on past me. And so that is great. Thank you. One last question. It is my favorite. What do you want to be known for?
Yeah, and it's interesting to me because I think to myself, a business goes through life cycles. When a business starts up, a founder, that entrepreneur, that risk taker has a place. And then as the company grows and builds and expands, often you see a transition at some point into more professional management to keep it going and keep it growing. And so I was thinking, if I could encapsulate the entire life cycle of a business, and some businesses are very, very old, and what are they known for? It's the brand. It's what's that word mean to you? What emotional response do you have from it? So things to me of what do I want to be known for? I want the business to be known for its integrity, its trustworthiness, a willingness to come alongside a business in whatever hard stuff they're dealing with, because I think empathy needs to play a bigger part in how we do business. It can be very cutthroat, even our competitors, but I find that there's always room and there's always grace. So let's operate in that, because boy, we need it when it happens to us. We don't want to be left on the side of the road hemorrhaging either. So let's come alongside. So I want a business that can do that. It's looking out for others by providing guidance that both protects and helps provide confidence for them to go on the offensive. I think that's the big one for me. That latter piece is, I want to make sure that their house is in order, not so they can stay in their house, but they can keep growing and get out and do something else. I don't have to keep worrying. Did I lock the doors? Did I leave the window open? Did I put the fire out?
Yep.
So I really want to be known for an organization that can do that for their business, that they are positioned better than they were. They're stronger, they're more confident, and their stakeholders or shareholders, combination of both, have that confidence that we don't always know everything. Things can happen, but we have a strong confidence that we're in a good place. That would be what I would like us to be known for.
Cool. Thank you for that. Appreciate it. Thank you again. That kind of wraps up the questions. So before we sign off, Adam, why don't you give us one last plug for xCur, where we can find you, website, phone numbers, contact information, all that good stuff.
Well, I mentioned we are in startup, so we're still working our presence. So I'm leveraging LinkedIn. Company page is really where you can find where we're at. You know, if you're in a business that doesn't understand or know even what it has as assets, I spend a lot of time talking to businesses about their intellectual property, trademark in particular, or copyright or trade secrets. Trade secrets have no legislative support or protection. It's only the controls, administrative controls you put in place. So if you're not aware of what you have and you're not sure you're covering your basis, talk to me. I'd love to come alongside and have a conversation, a coffee, a tea. I'm all good for all those things.
Okay.
Just let's have that conversation. Let's talk about what the future holds in legislation, what you need to do for your business.
Excellent. And if they were to phone you or email, what would be the best way to reach
They
you?
can either, yeah, thank you. I would say email and phone are perfect. So my cell number 566, area code 780-566-2486, or adam@xcur.ca, which is xcur.ca.
Fantastic. You've been more than gracious with your time. Thank you very much. Enjoy the rest of your day and have a great weekend.
Thank you so much, Kent. I really appreciate you and your business having me on, and thank you again.
You're welcome.